The Valiant sailed through the vast emptiness of space, a beacon of human exploration and hope. Captain Amelia Hayes stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. Suddenly, a soft chime interrupted the quiet hum of the ship's systems. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal," reported Lieutenant Marcus Voss, the ship's xenobiologist. His fingers danced over the console, pulling up the signal's details. "It's coming from an uncharted planet in Sector 9. Captain Hayes frowned, her curiosity piqued. "Set a course for the source of the signal," she ordered. "Let's see who needs our help." The crew moved with practiced efficiency, their faces set with determination. Dr. Elena Jansen, the ship's brilliant engineer, glanced at Hayes. "Another adventure?" she asked with a wry smile. "Always," Hayes replied, feeling the familiar thrill of discovery. The Valiant descended through the thick atmosphere of the planet, its hull glowing with the heat of entry. The dense forest canopy stretched out below them, a vibrant green expanse that seemed almost untouched by civilization. "Landing site ahead," Voss announced, guiding the ship towards a small clearing. The Valiant touched down gently, and the crew quickly prepared to disembark. As they stepped out onto the soft, mossy ground, they were met with an astonishing sight. Towering above them were the Korrithians, large, intelligent creatures with powerful yet graceful forms. Their leader, Zarkar, approached with a mix of caution and curiosity. "Welcome to our world," Zarkar said in a deep, resonant voice. "I am Zarkar, chieftain of the Korrithians. Who are you and why have you come?" Captain Hayes stepped forward, her posture open and non-threatening. "I am Captain Amelia Hayes of the United Earth Fleet," she replied. "We received your distress signal and came to offer our help." Zarkar studied her for a moment before nodding. "Very well, Captain Hayes. We need all the help we can get. The Drexians are hunting us, and we are running out of time." As Hayes listened, she knew they had landed in the middle of a desperate struggle. The mission had just become much more complicated and much more important. Captain Hayes, Lieutenant Voss, and Dr. Jansen followed Zarkar through the dense forest, marveling at the bioluminescent plants that illuminated their path. The air was filled with strange, harmonious sounds, unlike anything they had heard before. As they reached a clearing, Zarkar gestured towards a group of Korrithians gathered around a large communal fire. The tension in the air was palpable. The Korrithians, wary of their human visitors, watched them with cautious eyes. "We mean you no harm," Captain Hayes said, raising her hands to show they were unarmed. "We came because we received your distress signal. We want to help." Zarkar nodded solemnly. "We are grateful for your willingness to aid us. The Drexians, a brutal and merciless race, have been hunting us for generations. They seek to enslave us for our advanced biotechnology, which they believe will enhance their own power." Lieutenant Voss stepped forward. "We have faced many threats and challenges in our explorations. Perhaps we can find a way to help you defend yourselves." Zarkar's eyes softened slightly. "If you truly wish to help, we must work together. Our survival depends on it." The humans and Korrithians gathered in a large makeshift command center constructed from the organic materials of the forest. Lieutenant Voss and Dr. Jansen began discussing potential strategies with Zarkar and his advisors. "We need to combine our strengths," Voss suggested, pointing to a holographic map of the area. "Your biotechnology can be integrated with our weaponry to create a formidable defense system." Zarkar nodded in agreement. "Our knowledge of the terrain will give us an advantage in setting up ambush points and defensive positions." Dr. Jansen examined the Korrithian technology with fascination. "Your biotechnology is incredible," she said, her eyes lighting up with excitement. "If we can merge it with our energy shields and weapons, we can create a defense network that the Drexians won't expect." The room buzzed with activity as humans and Korrithians worked side by side, sharing knowledge and ideas. Engineers and soldiers from both sides collaborated, their initial wariness giving way to mutual respect and camaraderie. Captain Hayes observed the scene with a sense of pride. Despite their differences, both species were coming together for a common cause. She knew that the battle ahead would be tough, but with their combined efforts, they stood a fighting chance. As the preparations continued, the bond between the humans and Korrithians grew stronger. They were no longer just allies, they were friends, united by their desire to protect their home and their future. As the preparations continued, the tension among the crew of the Valiant and their Korrithian allies was palpable. Lieutenant Voss monitored the sensors closely, his face growing increasingly serious. "Captain, the Drexian fleet is approaching," Voss announced, his voice tense. "They'll be here within the hour." Captain Hayes nodded, her expression resolute. "Everyone to your stations. Remember the plan. The Valiant will draw the Drexians into the canyon, where our ambush will be waiting." Zarkar, standing beside Hayes, placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We are ready, Captain. Our warriors are in position, and our defenses are prepared. We will stand together." The Valiant lifted off, its engines humming with power as it soared into the sky. Dr. Jansen remained on the ground, coordinating the defense systems and ensuring everything was in place. She adjusted her headset and relayed instructions to the teams. The narrow canyon, lined with Korrithian biotechnology and human weaponry, was the perfect place for an ambush. The natural rock formations provided excellent cover, and the combined technology created a nearly invisible net of defenses. As the Drexian ships entered the atmosphere, Captain Hayes maneuvered the Valiant into position. The Drexians, eager to capture what they believed was an easy target, followed closely. "Now," Hayes commanded, her voice echoing through the comms. The trap was sprung. Hidden turrets and energy barriers activated, catching the Drexian ships off guard. Explosions rocked the canyon as the first wave of Drexian fighters were destroyed. On the ground, Korrithian warriors and human soldiers emerged from their hiding spots, launching a coordinated attack on the Drexian ground forces. Lieutenant Voss led a team through the dense forest, using the terrain to their advantage. Dr. Jansen's voice crackled through the comms. "EMP devices are ready. Stand by for activation." With a swift motion, Jansen activated the EMP devices, sending a powerful pulse through the air. Several Drexian ships sputtered and fell from the sky, their systems disabled. The Drexians, caught between the fierce ground resistance and the technological trap, struggled to regroup. Captain Hayes watched as the tide of battle began to turn in their favor. The combined might of the humans and Korrithians was proving to be a formidable force. The air was thick with the sounds of battle, as the Valiant and its allied forces clashed with the Drexians. Captain Hayes stood at the helm, barking orders to her crew. "Focus fire on their lead ship. We need to break their formation." The Valiant's weapons blazed, striking the Drexian flagship and causing it to veer off course. In the canyon below, the ground forces engaged in fierce combat. Human soldiers and Korrithian warriors fought side by side, their combined efforts creating a formidable defense. Lieutenant Voss, armed with a plasma rifle, led a squad through the dense forest. "Stay low and move fast," he instructed, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. They advanced, using the natural cover to their advantage and picking off Drexian soldiers one by one. Dr. Jansen, stationed at the command center, monitored the battlefield through a series of holographic displays. "We need to reinforce the western flank," she said, her fingers flying over the controls. "They're trying to break through." "On it," came the reply from a nearby soldier. Moments later, a squad of Korrithian warriors charged towards the vulnerable area, their bioengineered armor shimmering in the sunlight. They met the Drexian forces with a fierce roar, pushing them back with sheer determination. As the battle raged on, the combined forces of humans and Korrithians held their ground. Captain Hayes watched with pride as her crew and their allies fought with unparalleled bravery. The Drexians, unprepared for such a coordinated defense, began to falter. Dr. Jansen's voice crackled through the comms, urgent and clear. "EMP devices are ready. Stand by for activation." "Now," Captain Hayes commanded. Jansen activated the EMP devices, sending a powerful pulse through the battlefield. Several Drexian ships sputtered and fell from the sky, their systems disabled. The ground shook with the impact, and cheers erupted from the Allied forces. Lieutenant Voss spotted a Drexian officer directing troops from a high vantage point. "There," he shouted, pointing. Take him out and their ground forces will be disorganized. He led his squad through a series of coordinated strikes, finally taking down the officer and causing confusion among the Drexian ranks. On the other side of the battlefield, Zarkar fought with the strength and precision of a true warrior. His bioengineered weapons sliced through the Drexian armor, and his presence inspired those around him. He charged towards a group of Drexians, attempting to flank the Allied forces, cutting them down with a powerful swing of his weapon. Captain Hayes, seeing an opportunity to strike at the heart of the Drexian command, decided to lead a strike team to the Drexian flagship. "Lieutenant Voss, Dr. Jansen, you're with me," she ordered. They boarded a shuttle and launched towards the enemy ship. The shuttle weaved through the debris and fire of the ongoing battle, finally docking with the Drexian flagship. Hayes and her team moved quickly. Navigating the corridors and facing resistance at every turn, they reached the command center, where General Zorak awaited them. The command center was a scene of controlled chaos, with Drexian officers scrambling to regain control of their forces. General Zorak stood in the center, his expression cold and calculating. "So, the humans have come to die," he sneered. Captain Hayes stepped forward, her weapon raised. "We're here to end this," she declared. "Your reign of terror ends now." A fierce battle ensued, with Hayes and her team facing off against Zorak and his guards. Lieutenant Voss covered their flanks, picking off Drexian soldiers with precision shots, while Dr. Jansen used her engineering skills to disable security systems and create barriers. Zarkar, having joined them, charged at Zorak with a battle cry. The two leaders clashed, their weapons sparking with each strike. Zorak fought with ruthless efficiency, but Zarkar's strength and determination proved to be too much. With a final powerful blow, Zarkar disarmed Zorak and delivered the killing strike. The Drexian general fell, and a hush fell over the command center. The remaining Drexian officers, seeing their leader defeated, surrendered. Captain Hayes lowered her weapon, breathing heavily. "It's over," she said, relief washing over her. With the Drexian threat neutralized, the Allied forces celebrated their hard-earned victory. The bond between humans and Korrithians had been forged in the fires of battle, and their alliance was stronger than ever. As they tended to their wounded and secured the area, they looked towards the future with hope and determination. Captain Hayes, Lieutenant Voss, Dr. Jansen, and Zarkar boarded the shuttle, their faces set with determination. The shuttle weaved through the debris and chaos of the battlefield, finally docking with the Drexian flagship. The docking bay was eerily quiet, a stark contrast to the cacophony outside. "Stay alert," Hayes whispered as they disembarked. The team moved quickly through the dimly lit corridors, weapons at the ready. Drexian guards patrolled the hallways, but the team used their training and knowledge of Drexian patterns to avoid detection. Lieutenant Voss, leading the way, gestured for the team to halt as they approached a heavily guarded door. "This is it," he murmured, "the command center." Dr. Jansen quickly assessed the situation. "I'll disable the security systems," she said, moving to a nearby panel. Her fingers flew over the controls, and within moments, the door's locking mechanism clicked open. The team burst into the command center, weapons raised. Drexian officers scrambled to react, but they were met with precise and coordinated fire. Captain Hayes led the charge, her eyes fixed on General Zorak, who stood at the center of the room, his expression one of cold fury. "So the humans have come to meet their end," Zorak sneered, drawing his weapon. His presence exuded an aura of menace, and his officers seemed to draw strength from his confidence. Captain Hayes stepped forward, her weapon trained on Zorak. "Your reign of terror ends here, Zorak," she declared, her voice steady and filled with conviction. The battle that ensued was fierce and chaotic. Hayes and her team moved with precision, taking down Drexian soldiers while maneuvering towards Zorak. Lieutenant Voss provided cover fire, picking off enemies with deadly accuracy, while Dr. Jansen used her engineering skills to create makeshift barriers and disrupt enemy systems. Zarkar, his eyes blazing with determination, charged at Zorak. The two leaders clashed, their weapons sparking with each powerful strike. Zorak fought with ruthless efficiency, his movements calculated and deadly. But Zarkar's strength and resolve proved to be a formidable match. As the battle raged on, Captain Hayes saw an opening. "Now, Zarkar!" she shouted. Zarkar, seizing the moment, disarmed Zorak with a swift strike and delivered a crushing blow that sent the Drexian general sprawling. Zorak struggled to rise, but Hayes and Zarkar stood over him, their weapons trained on his prone form. "It's over, Zorak," Hayes said, her voice firm. "Surrender!" The remaining Drexian officers, seeing their leader defeated, dropped their weapons and surrendered. The command center fell silent, the tension hanging thick in the air. Captain Hayes lowered her weapon, her breath coming in heavy gasps. "We've done it," she said, relief washing over her. Zarkar nodded, a look of satisfaction on his face. With Zorak defeated and the Drexian threat neutralized, the Allied forces secured the flagship and began preparations to regroup and tend to the wounded. The victory was hard-earned, but it marked the beginning of a new chapter of cooperation and peace between the humans and Korrithians. The atmosphere aboard the Valiant was electric with triumph. The Allied forces had achieved the impossible, defeating the formidable Drexians. Cheers erupted throughout the ship as news of their victory spread. Captain Hayes stood on the bridge, her heart swelling with pride as she watched her crew and their Korrithian allies celebrating together. "Captain, we did it," Lieutenant Voss said, his face beaming with relief and joy. "The Drexians have surrendered." Dr. Jansen joined them, her face smudged with dirt but glowing with satisfaction. "Our combined efforts made this possible. We showed the Drexians what true cooperation can achieve." Zarkar approached, his massive form towering over the humans. "Your bravery and ingenuity were key to our victory," he said, his deep voice filled with gratitude. "Together, we are stronger." In the days that followed, the humans and Korrithians worked together to rebuild and strengthen their alliance. The battle had forged a bond between the two species, one built on mutual respect and shared sacrifice. They shared technology and knowledge, learning from each other's strengths. Captain Hayes and Zarkar held several meetings to discuss the future of their alliance. "We must ensure that the Drexians never threaten anyone again," Hayes said. "By working together, we can create a safer galaxy for all." Zarkar nodded in agreement. "Our people will stand with yours, Captain. We will share our biotechnology and knowledge of the region to help protect our newfound friends." The crew of the Valiant spent time on the Korrithian planet, helping to repair the damage from the battle and learning more about their allies' unique culture. Friendships blossomed, and the once wary Korrithians grew to trust and appreciate their human counterparts. With the Drexian threat neutralized and the alliance with the Korrithians solidified, the Valiant prepared to continue its mission of exploration and discovery. The ship's repairs were completed, and the crew readied themselves for new adventures. Captain Hayes stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. "We've accomplished a great deal here," she said, addressing her crew. "But our journey is far from over. There are still countless worlds to explore and new allies to be made." Lieutenant Voss and Dr. Jansen stood beside her, their faces reflecting the same determination and excitement. "Where to next, Captain?" Voss asked, a hint of a smile on his lips. Hayes smiled, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "We chart a course for the unknown. The galaxy is vast, and there are many who need our help. Let's make sure we continue to be a force for good." As the Valiant lifted off from the Korrithian planet, the crew felt a sense of optimism and readiness for whatever lay ahead. The victory they had achieved and the bonds they had formed were a testament to the power of unity and cooperation. Together, they would face whatever challenges the galaxy had to offer, as true guardians of the void.